Have you ever wondered why some of the wisest individuals in history practice silence? What is it about stillness that holds such transformative power? In a world filled with noise, endless conversations, and distractions at every turn, silence often seems foreign, even uncomfortable. But what if silence was the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us? Today, we take you on a journey through an ancient Buddhist tale that reveals the profound impact of silence, not just in the absence of words, but in the presence of inner clarity. This is not just a story about restraining one's speech. It's a lesson on self-mastery, the discipline of the mind, and the gateway to a more peaceful and enlightened existence. Imagine a young disciple, eager to prove his worth, convinced that wisdom comes from speaking rather than listening. He talks endlessly, boasting of his sacrifices and attempting to assert his superiority. But when his guru challenges him to a month of silence, his entire perception of himself and the world begins to unravel. What happens when the noise fades and he is left alone with his thoughts? Will he emerge transformed or remain trapped in his old ways? Stay with us as we explore the remarkable transformation of this disciple and uncover how silence can be a powerful tool in our own lives. Whether you're seeking clarity, peace, or a way to disconnect from the constant buzz of the modern world, this story will offer insights that could change the way you approach life itself. Before we dive in, don't forget to support our channel by liking this video, sharing it with others who may benefit, and subscribing for more enlightening content. Your engagement helps us bring more thought-provoking stories and wisdom to light. Now, let's begin. In a remote village, nestled among the serene mountains and lush greenery, there existed a hermitage where seekers of truth gathered to study the Dharma under the guidance of a revered Buddhist teacher. This teacher was known for his wisdom and deep understanding of the nature of the mind. He had many disciples, each striving in their own way to cultivate wisdom, compassion, and inner peace. Among them, however, was one disciple who stood out, not for his depth of understanding or meditative prowess, but for his incessant need to talk. Words flowed from him like an endless stream, touching on everything from trivial gossip to self-congratulatory narratives about his own journey. His need for conversation was not driven by a thirst for wisdom or understanding, but by an insatiable desire to be heard, to be recognized, and to affirm his sense of self. He often spoke of his past, reminding others that he had come from a wealthy family and had chosen the spiritual path over a life of material comfort. He would proclaim, "I could have lived a life of luxury, but I renounced it all to seek the truth. My sacrifice is far greater than anyone else's." Though his words were grand, his understanding was shallow. Rather than using speech as a tool for connection or learning, he wielded it as a means of self-glorification. His incessant talking did not go unnoticed by his fellow disciples. Some found his words exhausting, while others saw through his need for validation. But most of all, his guru, the enlightened master of the hermitage, observed him with a knowing smile, understanding that wisdom was not in the accumulation of words, but in the ability to transcend them. One day, the guru called all his disciples together and presented them with a challenge. "Each of you must take a resolution for the next month," he said. "It should be a test of your willpower, a practice that will strengthen your mind and spirit. Choose wisely." The disciples, eager to grow in their practice, selected their vows. Some chose to fast, believing that abstaining from food would cultivate discipline. Others committed to prolonged meditation, seeking deeper insight into the nature of reality. A few vowed to engage in acts of selfless service, hoping to cultivate compassion and humility. The talkative disciple, however, was different, determined to prove his superiority. He approached the guru with a sense of pride. "Gurudev," he said, "I do not want an ordinary challenge. Give me the greatest challenge, something truly worthy of my abilities." The guru, his eyes twinkling with understanding, responded, "Very well. Your task is simple. Remain completely silent for 1 month." The disciple laughed. "Silence? This is hardly a challenge. Surely, you can give me something more difficult." The guru simply replied, "Then fulfill it." First, the disciple embraced the challenge with confidence. For the first day, he remained silent, enjoying the novelty of the experience. But as the days passed, he found himself restless. Conversations buzzed around him, tempting him to join. His thoughts grew louder, filling the void that his voice had left behind. He felt as though he were suffocating under the weight of unspoken words. By the 4th day, his frustration had reached a breaking point. Unable to bear it any longer, he wrote a note to the guru. "Gurudev, I am going insane. I need to speak. What should I do?" The guru read the note and responded, "Resolutions test our strength. If you cannot keep this small vow, how will you face life's greater challenges?" The disciple, humbled but determined, withdrew into solitude, seeking an escape from his restless mind. He retreated to the outskirts of the hermitage, hoping that physical isolation would ease his mental turmoil. But the silence of the forest only amplified the noise within him. In the solitude of the woods, he found himself surrounded by an overwhelming stillness. Yet, his thoughts screamed louder than ever. First, he resisted, trying to suppress them, but the more he fought, the more persistent they became. Eventually, exhausted, he surrendered. He sat beneath a tree and, for the first time, listened not to his own thoughts, but to the world around him. He heard the rustling leaves, the distant calls of birds, the rhythmic flow of water. Each sound, once drowned out by his own voice, now reached him with pristine clarity. For the first time, he realized the richness of the present moment. He understood that silence was not merely the absence of speech, but the presence of a deeper awareness. As the days turned to weeks, the inner turmoil began to subside. The constant need to speak, to be heard, to assert himself, dissolved into a profound sense of peace. His mind, once filled with an endless stream of chatter, now rested in the simplicity of being. Months later, when he returned to the hermitage, he was no longer the same man. The once restless energy had transformed into calm composure. His words, once abundant but empty, were now few but filled with meaning. He approached the guru and asked, "Gurudev, am I still silent?" The guru gazed into his eyes and replied, "Yes, you are truly silent." With a newfound humility, the disciple shared his realization. "I once thought silence was merely not speaking, but I now understand that true silence is an inner state. Before, I spoke without awareness. Now, I see that true speech arises only from true silence." His fellow disciples, witnessing this transformation, saw the power of silence firsthand. They understood that words, though powerful, can often be a barrier to deeper understanding. True wisdom is not found in endless speech, but in the clarity that arises from stillness. This tale serves as a reminder that silence is not an emptiness, but a space of profound presence. It is in the quiet that we truly listen to ourselves, to others, and to the whispers of the universe. 1. Silence as self-mastery. Mastering silence is mastering oneself. In a world filled with noise and distractions, stillness is a rare and invaluable skill. To be silent is not merely to withhold words. It is to cultivate an inner state of mindfulness and awareness. This mastery is not achieved overnight, but through diligent practice. In the Buddhist tradition, silence is not viewed as a passive act, but as an active engagement with reality. It is through silence that we come face to face with our own minds, uncovering our strengths and vulnerabilities. When an individual learns to be silent, they break free from the compulsive need to react. Most of our daily interactions are dictated by impulse. Someone speaks, and we feel the need to respond instantly. Yet, what if we allowed silence to be our response? Silence gives us the ability to pause, reflect, and act with intentionality rather than impulse. A master of silence is a master of discipline. To control one's words is to control one's mind. This is why in Buddhist monastic traditions, periods of silence are practiced regularly. It is an opportunity to train the mind to resist distractions and cultivate the art of being present. Through silence, we learn that not all thoughts need to be verbalized. Some thoughts lose their power when left unspoken, while others deepen when examined in stillness. The ability to be comfortable in silence is a mark of inner confidence. Those who cannot sit with themselves in silence are often those most afraid of what they might find within. But when one embraces silence, they uncover a world of clarity, an insight that is otherwise drowned out by external noise. 2. The mind's inner noise. Even in external silence, our minds can be chaotic. True peace is found when we quiet this internal turmoil. It is easy to think that silence is merely an external practice, but true silence is cultivated within. The mind, left unchecked, is a restless force, generating endless thoughts, worries, and distractions. Many people find silence unsettling because they become acutely aware of their thoughts. This is why practices such as meditation and mindfulness are essential. They train the mind to settle into stillness. Without conscious effort, the mind clings to past regrets and future anxieties, rarely dwelling in the present. When external distractions are removed, we are forced to confront the chaos within. Buddhist philosophy teaches that suffering is largely a result of attachment to thoughts, desires, and identities. Silence is a means of disentangling oneself from these attachments. When we observe our thoughts in silence, we begin to see that they are fleeting, impermanent. The realization that thoughts come and go on their own diminishes their power over us. Practicing inner silence does not mean suppressing thoughts, but rather observing them without attachment. A quiet mind is not one that is devoid of thought, but one that is free from mental chatter. This level of inner quiet allows for greater clarity, focus, and peace. Many Buddhist monks and meditation practitioners spend years in silence, not as an escape from the world, but as a way to develop mastery over the mind. When the internal noise quiets, intuition and wisdom emerge. The world seems clearer, and decisions are made with a sense of deep understanding rather than impulse. 3. Speaking with purpose. Mindful speech is powerful. When we speak only what is necessary and meaningful, our words carry weight. Every word we speak has the power to heal or harm, to uplift or tear down. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of right speech is a fundamental aspect of ethical living. Right speech encourages individuals to speak truthfully, kindly, and with intention. In a world where words are often spoken carelessly, silence teaches us to choose our words wisely. Many people speak simply to fill space, without consideration for the impact of their words. But those who practice silence learn the value of each syllable. They recognize that not every thought needs to be expressed, and that sometimes silence is the most profound response. Consider the difference between a person who speaks out of compulsion and one who speaks with deliberation. The former may talk excessively, but say little of value. The latter may say very little, but impart great wisdom in a few words. True communication is not about quantity, but about the depth and sincerity of what is spoken. Silence also cultivates active listening. When we are not preoccupied with what we will say next, we listen more deeply. This type of listening fosters genuine understanding and connection. The greatest teachers, leaders, and thinkers throughout history have understood the importance of measured speech. They know that sometimes the most powerful statements are made in silence. 4. the transformative power of solitude. Time spent alone fosters deep reflection. In solitude, we hear not just the world, but ourselves. The modern world often equates solitude with loneliness, but they are not the same. Loneliness is a feeling of isolation. Solitude is a state of inner richness. Buddhist monks retreat into solitude not to escape the world, but to see it more clearly. When removed from the distractions of daily life, one can turn inward and cultivate self-awareness. This self-awareness leads to profound insights that cannot be gained through constant external engagement. Solitude allows us to engage in self-inquiry. Without external distractions, we are left with our thoughts, emotions, and the raw truth of our existence. Many avoid solitude because they fear what they might discover about themselves. But those who embrace it find clarity, purpose, and a deep sense of connection to their inner being. In solitude, creativity flourishes. The greatest works of philosophy, art, and literature have often emerged from those who spent long periods in quiet contemplation. The mind, free from external noise, is able to explore ideas and perspectives with depth and originality. The modern relevance of silence. In today's hyper-connected world, silence is more vital than ever. Notifications, media, and constant interaction drown out our inner voice. When was the last time you truly listened to yourself, to nature, to the present moment? Our modern world values constant engagement. Social media, news, and entertainment keep us in a perpetual state of distraction. But in this endless noise, we lose touch with ourselves. Silence is an antidote to the overstimulation of modern life. It is a way to reconnect with what truly matters. Practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and digital detoxes can help us reclaim the power of stillness. These practices are not luxuries. They are necessities for maintaining mental and emotional well-being. Silence is not an escape from the world. It is a return to oneself. By embracing stillness, we cultivate clarity, wisdom, and peace. In silence, we learn to listen not just to others, but to the deeper truths within ourselves. The true power of silence is not in the absence of noise, but in the presence of profound awareness. Those who master silence do not withdraw from life. They engage with it more deeply. They understand that wisdom is not found in endless talking, but in thoughtful reflection. In a world that moves fast, silence teaches us to slow down and truly experience life. It is a return to the essence of being, a way to live with greater intention, and ultimately, a path to deeper understanding. As we have seen through this incredible journey, silence is not merely about the absence of speech. It is about presence, awareness, and self-mastery. The young disciple who once prided himself on his words discovered a deeper truth. True wisdom does not lie in speaking, but in understanding when to speak and when to remain silent. His journey reminds us that silence is not a void, but a space for growth, introspection, and deep listening. In our fast-paced world, where distractions are endless, and we are constantly encouraged to voice our opinions, we rarely take a moment to sit in stillness and listen to ourselves, to nature, and to the wisdom that exists in quiet reflection. But what if we did? What if, like the disciple, we took time to retreat into silence and experience the clarity it brings? We challenge you, take a moment of silence today. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Resist the urge to respond impulsively, and simply be present. What do you notice? What thoughts rise to the surface? How does it feel to be still in a world that never stops moving? If you found value in this story, let us know in the comments below. Have you ever practiced silence? What insights have you gained from moments of stillness? Share your experiences, we'd love to hear from you. And before you go, don't forget to like this video, share it with those who might benefit from these teachings, and subscribe to our channel for more wisdom-filled content. By supporting this channel, You help spread powerful lessons that have the potential to change lives. Thank you for joining us on this journey. May you find peace in silence, wisdom in stillness, and clarity in every moment. Until next time, Namo Buddhaya.